radiowhat.com internet radio station that I've been running for quite some time. And if you need DJ services, where do you go? DJLittleRock.com. Check availability and get a free price quote, and maybe you could have me at your next event. I like to party with the people. This week's shows, I'll be at the Rab in Conway, Arkansas on Friday night, 8 p.m. until 1 in the a.m. Full bar, kitchens open, pool tables, pool tournament on a Friday night at the Rab in Conway, Arkansas. And of course, the video dance party karaoke jam. Yes, I like to play at the Rab in Conway, Arkansas on Friday night. And then on Saturday night, I'll be at the Choctaw VFW in where? Choctaw. Choctaw, Arkansas. Man, I just tickle myself when I say Choctaw. It's such a great word. I mean, I know it's an Indian name, right? Native Americans? Sure. I guess I need to look into what are the Choctaws? Who are the Choctaws? Yeah, let's find out more about that a little bit later. All right. Let's see. Also, if you'd like to tell your story or hear the stories of others, I encourage you to check out my other podcast, What Makes You Famous. Find it everywhere using the hashtag What Makes You Famous. But for today, it is What Makes You Smarter. Now, on with the show. Today on the program, 10 things you need to know today for Thursday, August 6th, 2020. 10 things you need to know today. Number 1, Facebook removes Trump post citing coronavirus misinformation. Facebook on Wednesday for the first time removed a video clip posted by President Trump because the social network determined that it contained, quote, false claims, end quote, about the coronavirus. The clip said children are, quote, almost immune, end quote, to COVID-19. The post was a, quote, a violation of our policies around harmful COVID misinformation, end quote. Facebook spokesperson Andy Stone said the Trump campaign accused Facebook of, quote, flagrant bias, end quote. Facebook, where false information spread widely during the 2016 presidential campaign, has faced pressure to moderate its site more aggressively as Russia and other international actors allegedly mount efforts to influence this year's election. Twitter removed a tweet containing the video posted by a Trump campaign account. YouTube also took down the video, saying it violated its coronavirus misinformation policy. This is according to the Washington Post and The Hill. Number 2, Biden to accept nomination remotely. Former Vice President Joe Biden won't appear at the upcoming Democratic National Convention in Milwaukee due to concerns about the coronavirus. Organizers announced on Wednesday. Biden instead will accept the party's nomination for president and will deliver his speech from Delaware, his home state. The decision was made, quote, after ongoing consultation with public health officials and experts, end quote, regarding the pandemic, officials said. Most of the Democratic convention was already scheduled to be virtual due to the pandemic, and delegates were told in June they should prepare for a remote convention. President Trump, who canceled the Jacksonville portion of the Republican National Convention, said he may give his speech from the White House. Even some Republicans bristled at the idea. Quote, is that even legal? End quote, asked Senator John Thune, Republican, South Dakota. This is according to NPR and the New York Times. Number 3, Esper confirms Beirut blast accidental despite Trump claim of attack. Defense Secretary Mark Esper said Wednesday that, quote, most believe, end quote, the explosion that killed at least 135 people in Beirut this week was an accident, even though President Trump claimed his, quote, great generals, end quote, told him it was a, quote, terrible attack, end quote. Quote, we're positioning ourselves to provide them whatever assistance we can. Humanitarian aid, medical supplies, you name it, to assist the people of Lebanon, end quote, Esper said. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo talked to Lebanese Prime Minister Hassan Diab, and expressed the United States government's condolences, pledging assistance. The direct cause of the disaster was not immediately clear. Diab said that about 2,750 metric tons of highly explosive ammonium nitrate had been stored at a warehouse by Beirut's port for 6 years, quote, without preventative measures, end quote. This is according to CNN. Number 4, Fauci says family has faced death threats. White House Health Advisor Dr. White House Health Advisor Dr. Anthony Fauci said Wednesday that he and his family had faced harassment and death threats over his calls for social distancing and other measures to curb the spread of coronavirus. He has occasionally offered advice contradicted by President Trump, quote, getting death threats to my family and harassing my daughters to the point where I have to get security. It's amazing, end quote, Fauci told CNN's Dr. Sanjay Gupta in an interview on Harvard School of Public Health website that was streamed on Facebook Live. Quote, I wouldn't have imagined in my wildest dreams that people who object to things that are pure public health principles are so set against it and don't like what you and I say, namely in the world of science, that they actually threaten you, end quote, Fauci said. This is according to CNBC. Number 5, Sally Yates testifies that Flynn neutered U.S.-Russia policy. Former Deputy Attorney General Sally Yates testified to the Senate Judiciary Committee Wednesday that then incoming National Security Advisor Michael Flynn secretly, quote, neutered, end quote, Obama administration policy toward Russia in late 2016. Flynn's actions ahead of the inauguration of President Trump helped fuel the investigation into contacts with Russia by Trump associates. Yates has been a frequent target for criticism by Trump and other Republicans. Before the hearing, Trump attacked Yates, tweeting that she, quote, has zero credibility, end quote, and accusing her of being, quote, part of the greatest political crime of the century. And Obama Biden knew everything, end quote. The review of the Russia investigation by the committee, chaired by Senator Lindsey Graham, Republican South Carolina, is one of 2 inquiries being undertaken by GOP-led Senate committees into the Russia investigation. This is according to the Washington Post. Number 6, progressives celebrate primary victories as evidence of momentum. Progressive Democrats on Wednesday celebrated 2 important victories in Tuesday's primaries, saying that the protest against racial injustice since George Floyd's death have given their movement new strength. In one of the wins, Representative Rashida Tlaib, Democrat Michigan, won a convincing victory over moderate Detroit City Council President Brenda Jones, who had called Tlaib too divisive. Tlaib is a member of the, quote, squad, end quote, of first-term Congresswomen of color that includes Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Democrat, New York. In the other win, Black Lives Matter activist Cori Bush beat longtime incumbent Representative Lacey Clay, Democrat, Missouri, in a heavily Democratic St. Louis area district. Tlaib and Bush have secured support from national progressive groups and rejected contributions from corporate political action committees. This is according to the Associated Press. Number 7, Aurora Police Chief apologizes after officers hold Black girls at gunpoint. Aurora, Colorado Police Chief Vanessa Wilson apologized on Wednesday to the families of 4 Black girls after officers forced them to lie in a parking lot at gunpoint over the weekend. Officers had mistakenly believed they were riding in a stolen car because a stolen motorcycle appeared to have the same license number. The incident was captured on video. The footage shows the girls ages 6, 12, 14 on the ground. surrounded by uniformed officers. The mother of the 6-year-old, 27-year-old Brittany Gilliam, is shown in the video being handcuffed by police. The Aurora Department was already under intense scrutiny over the August 2012 death of Elijah McClain, a 23-year-old black man who had been walking home from a store and died after being subdued by 3 policemen and injected with a sedative by paramedics. This is according to Reuters. Number 8, Iowa ends lifetime voting ban for people with felony convictions. Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds, Republican, on Wednesday signed an executive order ending the state's lifetime voting ban for anyone who has a felony conviction, giving them the ability to vote after they complete their sentences. The move comes after activists spent months protesting outside the state capitol. The nonprofit Sentencing Project estimated in 2016 that about 52,000 Iowans weren't able to vote because of their felony convictions, with almost 24,000 finished with their criminal sentences. Quote, "Today, we take a significant step forward in acknowledging the importance of redemption, second chances, and the need to address inequalities in our justice system," end quote, Reynolds said in a statement. Quote, "The right to vote is the cornerstone of society and the free republic in which we live. When someone serves their sentence, they should have their right to vote restored automatically," end quote. This is according to The Guardian. Number 9, report. Deutsche Bank complied with New York subpoena over Trump's finances. The Manhattan District Attorney's office, which is seeking President Trump's tax records, last year subpoenaed Trump's biggest lender, Deutsche Bank, for his financial records, the New York Times reported Wednesday, citing 4 people familiar with the matter. Deutsche Bank complied, according to the Times. The news added to indications that the New York prosecutor's criminal investigation into Trump's business practices is broader than initially believed. The investigation long appeared to center on hush money payments made in 2016 to 2 women who claimed to have had affairs with Trump. A court filing this week suggested that the prosecutors were investigating Trump and his company for possible bank and insurance fraud. The filing cited, quote, public reports of possibly extensive and protracted criminal conduct at the Trump organization, end quote. This is according to the New York Times. Number 10, Hiroshima mayor calls for unity on 75th atomic bombing anniversary. The mayor of Hiroshima, Kazumi Matsui, said Thursday at an event marking the 75th anniversary of the atomic bombing of his Japanese city that the world must fight a new rise of, quote, self-centered nationalism, end quote, like that which led to World War II. He said people around the world have to unite to fight a new threat, the coronavirus pandemic. Quote, when the 1918 flu pandemic attacked a century ago, it took tens of millions of lives and terrorized the world because nations fighting World War I were unable to meet the threat together, end quote, he said. Quote, a subsequent upsurge in nationalism led to World War II and the atomic bombings, end quote. He said the global community can overcome the coronavirus crisis, quote, with what we have learned from the tragedies of the past, end quote. This is according to the Washington Post. That's 10 things you need to know today for Thursday, August 6th, 2020. Thank you so much for listening and putting up with me. I know I do these just so I can learn some stuff, and if you want to take the journey with me, you can learn with me. Hey, why not? This has been What Makes You Smarter. Now, lately, I've been reading the 10 things you need to know today, but stay tuned to this feed, and I'll try to pull up some different topics that strike me as interesting and tear them apart a little bit and maybe learn some more about them. And let me know if you want to hear something that you want me to read about, learn about, and in turn, teach you about. Yeah. Drop me some comments. Leave me a review. 5 stars, please, only. Also, if you'd like to tell your story or hear the stories of others, I encourage you to check out my other podcast, What Makes You Famous. Find it everywhere using the hashtag What Makes You Famous. That's it for me. It's KeysDAN, RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com. Peace.